Welcome along, everybody. We are here after a few technical difficulties. Thankfully, we are here ready to get going then for Silver Season 8 Round 9 here in Canada. Kydell has slotted himself up into P7 then. Like I was saying, unfortunately, a few technical difficulties to start off the evening tonight, but we have finally got there. We are finally ready to put the stream on. We have got 13 and a half minutes left of qualifying. Both Mercedes currently occupying the front row. Potstuff P3, Vanquish P4, Reflection P5, R2 P6, Kydell P7. Oh, Kydell now down to P8, then Kamara Racer up into P5. Kydell down to P8, Sweet into P, then P9, and we've just had somebody else jump up there. Gordo up into P4 in the Aston Martin. There we go. Mr. Elite then displaces his teammate down to P9 as well. Then Meranov is back in the pit lane. That is the order so far. So that is good stuff, and he'll be caught up very quickly indeed there as well. Then Mumford challenging then for the championship, then into the final chicane then for the Alpine team. Going over the curve then at the exit of the Wall of Champions, then making sure he keeps out of that wall, but up to the line. It's a 9.9, puts himself P4 onto the second row of the grid. Good stuff indeed. Jay Hings just starting off a lap, then Justified unfortunately has invalidated speed. Kai then coming down the back straight. Where is Vess here? Then Vess here is coming through into sector 2. So we will stay on board with the Kick Sauber car of Speed Kai then, who is reserving in place of Nigel tonight then in the Dutch driver, then not making it to this race. And here comes Speed Kai, and he is going to finish off his first flying lap here. He's on intermediate compound tyres, so I don't even need to be paying any attention to the time. So there we go. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then Jay Hings is coming through the hairpin then of Sector 2 into Sector 3 now. And of course he is on the soft compact tyre, so he is going to be going great guns indeed then here in the Aston Martin car, heading down that back straight towards the final but most challenging chicane then of the circuit. Three very challenging chicanes actually around this circuit, but this is the biggest one of them all, as he completes that very nicely indeed. Then up to the line then for Jay Hings. What's it going to be? It's a 10-0, puts himself P5 ahead of his teammate Gordo, and both Aston Martins flying high then in Canada so far in qualifying them with 10 minutes or so to go here in the session. Good stuff indeed. And R2B has just started off another lap then, unfortunately invalidated his previous attempt, so we'll see what he can do later on. Then Speedcar coming back into the pit lane. Then there's a lap out laps then for Miranov, Farf, Plotters as well. Then Tonto is still in the pit lane. I think Tonto's got a qualifying ban, so he needs to start from the back of the field. Then does the Haas driver, unfortunately for him. Yellow flags, and it's a Red Bull then who's having a few issues out there. It looks like it might be Plotters just getting out of the way potentially of some drivers coming through, but goodness me, I don't think Farf is that aware of what's going on then, and neither is oh goodness me, there's a kick sour, there's a racing ball, there's all sorts going on then as we go down the back straight then as well. Then into the pits comes Speed Car, then Farf just starting off another lap then, starting off his first lap then I think, even in from Gerben as well. Then into the first turn for the racing ball driver. Then this is his first attempt in qualifying here tonight with 10 or just under 11 minutes of qualifying to go, 10 minutes left of the session. Then unfortunately, like I said, not qualifying bans, technical difficulties then prohibiting me from getting on with the stream on time, that is, so I'm very sorry I'm late, but we have got ourselves some qualifying then to watch on board then, with Farf then coming through into Sector 2, gone purple in Sector 1. I think that's purple to Maranov's time, not to Kiki's time though, but we'll have to wait and see what Farf can do then into Sector 2. Now we go then, very nicely done over the second chicane then, and heading down towards that hairpin once again as well then, 41.6 then his Sector 2 time, then purple again in Sector 2, but again I don't think that means anything, and then unless somebody can correct me in the comment section. But there we go then, heading down that back straight now. DRS available for the racing ball driver, as is his ERS, goodness me. And meet the wall, says German as well. Then Farf going to meet the wall then into the wall of champions. He shouldn't do, because he's not a champion then, but there we go. He's managed to avoid it there. Good stuff indeed. Up to the line for Farf. What's it going to be? A 9.7, then puts himself onto the second row of the grid then. Good stuff from the racing ball driver. Jay Hings unfortunately has invalidated his time, going back to the pit lane. Kamara Racer is back out there as well then. Plotters up into P10, then into the very middle of the field as it stands. With a 10.1 as well then. Good stuff from him. Reflection back out on circuit. Kydell's had a bit of a spin there as well. Oh dear, there was a I think that was a speed, no it wasn't a speed car, it was a pot stop on an outlap. Thankfully just passing the, where is he? He's pointing the wrong, and he oh dear. Okay. What you need to do there is spin the car around, and now I think we figured it out now. But goodness me, he needs to get himself back out of the way and off the racing line there as well. Goodness me, that is how you need to. That's how to get a 5-place grid penalty. Then is just parking it in the middle of the track when you've had a spin. To be fair, I had a couple of spins yesterday and it was great. Farf then has lost his right end plate, I should say then, but I don't think he's going to be too fussed about it. He's going back to the pit lane anyway. He's got himself up to P4. If that had been on his actual flying lap, I think he'd be a bit more angry about that, but yeah, not quite sure what happened with Kydell and Farf there, but nonetheless they've had their issues and they've resolved their issues now. I don't think they have, but potentially they've resolved their issues now. We'll have to wait and see. Kamara Racer up into P5 then, last week's race winner, then his first ALR race win around Monaco of all places as well then. He's got himself up into P6, Miranov up into P4, then displacing Farf down to P5. And good stuff indeed from the Haas reserve, then replacing Irvine tonight then in the grey and red machine, I suppose you could call it. I'm not quite sure what that, yeah, black, red, grey, yeah, that car. It was the green machine, then the kick sour, that's what we want to call that. We want to see the green machine on track then. Pot stuff currently in P3, sorry, but Speed Kai, what is going on for the McLarens? Let's justify this time the Red Bull then having an issue. Where? Yes. Goodness speak. I think there's a few people having a few problems at that corner. That's where Kyle was spinning, wasn't it? And Justify has followed suit then in the Red Bull as well. Then flying through now into this section is Mr. Elite, and he is 28 thousandths up on his previous time. Then that is good stuff indeed. He's improving in Sector 1. Then can he keep it all together? Then in Sector 2 and 3, Gordo. No, not Gordo, sorry. It is somebody else. Speed Guide up at the order. Then 9.9. Then for the Kick Sauber driver. Then into the top 10 of qualifying as it stands then. Of course, there's quite a gap then as it stands in between the top two. Then that is Kiki, who's got the pole position, then wrapped up. Then, of course, he did get pole position in Monaco last week, but it didn't go too well for him in the race, which is where you get the points, of course. But Kiki then has done a 9.0. Then he is currently, what is that then, about 4 and a bit tenths away from his teammate then in terms of time. Then Beast, unfortunately, 4 seconds down on his previous time. Then I think he's going again then, is Beast in the Mercedes. Then let's see what he can do. Pot Stuff is on a flying lap then coming down that back straight now, and we will see what Pot Stuff can do as well then heading through into the final chicane. No, we won't. It's coming in the pit lane. Never mind then. That's that then, done and dusted. Jay Hings is flying through then. Gordo unfortunately has invalidated his time, and I think he's going to go for another lap later on then. Speed Car as well doing the same. No, Speed Car coming in the pit lane as well then, so that is him done and dusted in qualifying then for that attempt. Kamara races back out on circuit then. We'll ride on board then with the championship leader then, which is Beast. He started from the back, well, not from the back of the grid. He started from P19, I think, in Monaco. Then he got himself up into P4 in the end, which is pretty good stuff around Monaco. Shows that you can do a bit of overtaking here and there. But Beast then was looking to try and regain as much composure as he could then in that after that difficult qualifying in Monaco. Got himself almost onto the podium places in the end of that race after a fantastic performance. Then a bit of problem with the grass. Then unfortunately he has not improved on his previous time. Then there's a McLaren coming out the pit lane there. Unfortunately for Beast then, he couldn't improve. He lost a 10th there in that final sector, potentially going on the grass there. That cost him that time as well. Then Jay Hings up into P8 then, he's just ahead of Vanquish now as well. Then a 9.8 then for the Aston Martin driver. That's quite close in that midfield then. Kamara Racer then on a 9.8 then all the way down to Vanquish then with a 9.8 as well. There are 4 drivers then very closely packed then. We've got 9.9s then for Mumford, who's well, Mumford's struggling out there because Mumford is a championship challenger or championship contender. Then he's P2 in the standings, I believe. Right now he's not far away from Beast then, as he got himself a podium under his belt then in Monaco as well then, so we'll have to wait and see what Mumford can do, because he needs to improve then in qualifying to try and rival his championship rivals, that is, in this qualifying session. And 4.5 minutes left of the Montreal qualifying before we get ourselves into the 35 laps of racing itself. Who won last night? Says Altag. You're going to have to go and watch it. So there you are. Brilliant stuff indeed then. So yeah, you're going to have to find out. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but somebody who's won before has won the race last night, and it wasn't me. So there we go then. That's that sorted out then. Mumford then is taking us around the circuit then for an outlet. Then we'll ride on board, whereas his teammate is flying through then in towards Sector 3 then. Is Mumford going to give Sweet 100p a bit of a tow down this back straight then, potentially work together then for the Alpine outfit into the hairpin, then locking up then for Sweet 100p. Then unfortunately that Alpine then not having a great time on the brakes then into that heavy braking zone, as now onto the back straight we go then. I think Mumford is a bit too far away to give any tow then to the his teammate, that is, as we go down towards the final chicane then for the Alpine of Sweet 100p. Then he's coming back into the pit lane though. He's abandoning his lap time there, so maybe not improving on his previous time. Then we'll have to wait and see if he can go back out again, that is. Then here comes Kamara Racer then in the Williams last week's race winner. We got Kamara Racer then flying through into Sector 2. Then he's P6 currently on the 3rd row of the grid then, behind Farf of all people. But let's see if he can improve then into Sector 3, then sliding his way through the chicane there, almost into the wall on the exit into that curve then as well. Then yellow flags fluttering for a Ferrari, just getting out of the way. Then into the hairpin goes the Williams driver, and now he's going to have maybe a distant tow then from that Red Bull as well further ahead. Then we'll have to wait and see if that's going to give him any decent slipstream then down this back straight as well. Then there is the Red Bull, I think, of Justify, or maybe it's Plotters, I'm not quite sure which one it is, but nonetheless then here comes Kamara then into the final chicane then, and making sure to avoid the Wall of Champions. Then up to the line, what's it going to be then for the Williams driver? Then it's a 9.4, puts himself P2 splitting the Mercedes pair. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Then 2.5 minutes left of the session. Then Kamara's going to be pretty happy with that. Then he is still 0.4 of a second, although also away then from the current pole sitter of Kiki, then, who's done a very impressive 9.0 as it stands, and it doesn't look like it can be beaten at this moment. Then there's still 2 minutes left of the session for drivers to improve. Then Plotters up into P5 with a 9.560, then puts himself into the mid-pack of the points pairing positions as it stands. Then there's still time in qualifying. There's still all sorts of action that can happen in qualifying. Then in this final 2 minutes, the track is getting very busy out there as well, as the last few drivers then set their pace, set the times, then set their final laps here in qualifying now. As I said, ALR then spent 10 minutes looking for the video, says Altag. Well, if you just go on the YouTube channel, unfortunately for Miranov, he's invalidated his time. If you go on the YouTube channel and click on Gold Season 11 playlist, it will be in that one potentially. Bear with me 1 second, I'll do that now. Just make sure I do it before David goes to look for it. I will do that for you right now, so there you go. There it is, saved and ready to watch. But of course you need to watch Silver first, that is, so get that sorted first. We'll get Silver done and dusted, then I think we'll get some fantastic racing from Silver once again as well. Fingers crossed it's going to save, because it's just stuck on my screen now. Fantastic. But there we are. Then Mumford has retired. I'm not quite sure if Mumford has retired from there. I think he's in the pit lane, unfortunately, for Mumford. The other Alpine is his teammate of Sweet. That is going through turn 1, 2 and 3. So unfortunately there is one Alpine then out of qualifying then. I didn't see it because I was trying to look at the stream. Then Serious Mushroom is sandbagging. Speed Kai is sandbagging as well then. Good luck this week's race, says Alex. Yes, this week's race. This week's race is in Canada then, so good stuff indeed. So far so good for qualifying then. We've only got a few more minutes left of the session. Where is the Ferrari? There's all sorts of what is going on here. I think that's Speed. No, it's not Speed Car then. Goodness me, there's all sorts of action crossing the start-finish line. Then they're very closely packed up then in this this final few seconds of qualifying here as well. Yes, very interesting stuff indeed. Then Speed Car, no, it's not Speed Car, it's Potstuff. Potstuff had an issue. Unfortunately, I think that's him done and dusted. I think that was him done and dusted anyway, because he's used up quite a lot of ERS then, so I think that was his final lap there. Who is next to cross the line? I think it is this man here, but he's just finished a lap then. He was 1/10 faster, but unfortunately was invalid at the same time then. We've got a Red Bull then of Plotters to cross the line. P2 for Plotters then at 9.3, puts himself on the front row of the grid then, but Kiki has gone into the 8s then at 8.8 then from the Mercedes driver. Beast has done a 9.2 and taken away that P2 position then from Plotters. Then it's an all Mercedes front row as it stands. Then Potstuff has retired on the circuit then as well as Potstuff, so that is bad news for him then, because that could be a slap on the wrist then if he causes any problems out on circuit as well then for cars coming through. Then Jay Hings is powering down that back straight then. I think Jay Hings then is going to be fighting for a top 10 position then, or starting position that is, as Vessia then crosses the line. P11 then Vanquish P12, Mumford down to P13 unfortunately for the championship challenger, not looking good then in qualifying. We've just had Speed Car jump up the order then to P4. Then goodness me, Jay Hings having an issue out of the final chicane, then that has cost him dearly. Oh dear, he's lagging a bit. Goodness me. R2 beat then up to P16, then 10.3 then for the Ferrari driver, then completes the qualifying here, I think. Just about. There we are. Good stuff indeed then. Kiki then pole sitter then for the Canadian Grand Prix. Back-to-back pole positions as well after Monaco last week then in last week's race. So there we go then. This is looking good then for Kiki then. Hopefully he can keep it out of the walls this time then and avoid any issues and take home some big points then from Mercedes. Then currently Mercedes locking out the front row as they have done on previous races this season. And there they are then. Kiki then ahead of Beast, then Plotters in P3, then Speed Kai P4, Kamara P5, Potstuff P6, Meranov P7, Farf P8, Gordo P9 and Swimter P rounds off the top 10. Then Jay Hings P11, Vessia P12, Vanquish P13, Mumford his championship rival, then the Beast starting on the front row, then Mumford down in P14, Reflection P15, R2 Beat P16, Mr. Elite P17, Justify P18, Kaidel sorry P19 but has a 5-place grip penalty, and Tonto then has a qualifying ban, but we're starting from P19 with Kaidel's penalty anyway. Brilliant stuff indeed. We'll have a quick word from our lovely sponsors and we'll be back very soon. check out ALR Esports shop then for all your lovely ALR merchandise, and of course anything from the 3D track prints as well then, for your wall art, your keychains, that sort of stuff as well then, for some fantastic stuff indeed. Fantastic merch and stuff indeed as well then. And of course, if you have some pennies left over and feel like donating then to our charity then, Mind charity then, supporting mental health and well-being for all ages really, but of course mainly for I suppose for teenagers and that sort of thing, and for young adults, that sort of stuff as well. Very important stuff indeed, and very close of course to ALR as well now, but we will get ourselves underway then for this race. That this is the formation lap of course, so they are just getting themselves around the circuit then to start off the race, then getting themselves lined up on the grid. Kydell then P20, then medium compound tyres then for the McLaren, then Tonto as well, medium compound tyres after his quality ban has been served now. Justify then P18 on the mediums, as is Mr. Elite then in P17. Then we've got a few hard runners of R2 Beat then P16, Reflection in P15, and Mumford then of course, like I said, Challenger then starting on the hard compound tyres then in this one as well. Vanquish medium compound tyres sandwiched in between the hard compound runners then of Vess here as well then in P12. Then J Hings P11 just outside the top 10. Sweet 100p hard compound tyres in the top 10, just inside the top 10 as well this time. P10 for him. Gordo then on the medium compound tyres, and again in a bit of a hard compound sandwich then with Farf then P8. Meranov on mediums, as is Potslav in P6. Then we're on to Kamara Racer hard compound tyres, Speed Kai hard compound tyres in P4. Plotters then rounds off the second row, then he is on the mediums, as is Beast in P2 on the front row of the grid alongside his teammate the pole sitter then of Kiki, who is on the hard compound tyre. And we will see how the race is going to unfold then from a wonderful camera angle this time. We'll be able to actually see what is going to go on then on track for the race leaders then when we get ourselves started. Just waiting for the drivers at the back of the field then to get themselves into their grid slots then, and we will be ready to race here for 35 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. Update, changing anything, anyone says Mushroom, then you can read the patch notes in the patch notes channel then on in the Discord then. 5 red lights coming on here in Canada then for silver, and away we go then for the Canadian Grand Prix. A good start then from Ultimate Beast on the medium compound tyres. He's already got himself ahead of his teammate into turn 1. Plotter's looking to go around the outside into turn 1, which turns to the inside for turn 2, and he's got the move I think on the medium compound tyres as well, then flying through then into P2 in the Red Bull car. Brilliant stuff indeed. Looks like everyone's got themselves away cleanly then into the first chicane so far. Speed car then holding station, then Potslav passing Kamara Racer, then up into P5, Kamara down to P6. Then got pressure from Farf then, and Gordo as they go through into the second chicane, then into sector 2 now, and there's contact between the Racing Bull and the Williams car flying down the back straight. Goodness me, then, oh my goodness me, this could get dangerous indeed. Then, oh dear, Kamara Racers had to cut the corner. Kamara Racers got a penalty, and Kamara Racers had a spin as well there. Goodness me, and off the circuit goes the Williams car. Then he's spun around, then he's got himself back underway. But yes, that was dodgy stuff indeed, let's say that to the least. Then unfortunately for Kamara, then he's dropping down the field, back underway. Then Vanquish has passed Sweet 100p then for P10, then up 3 places for Vanquish. Good stuff indeed. Then 5 places gained for Tonto on the medium compound tyres as well then. Brilliant stuff. Mumford then in the charge as well. He's trying to get himself back into the top 10 as it stands, at least to negate the effects then of the championship challenger, his rival then of Beast, who's now leading the way then by 9/10 of a second almost that 1 second window that he needs to break the DRS as well then here, as he's used up a lot of ERS then to try and get himself away then from the battling pack behind him then, but into the first chicane then he's just about got that 1 second gap I think then to Plotters in the Red Bull, which will be good news for Kiki, his teammate then, because he can use the DRS now to try and get himself back past into P2. More action down the field as Gordo's had a problem, then Gordo's facing the wrong way, and he's got wing damage there as well. He's back underway now. But unfortunately for Gordo, then he is currently a contender then for the championship as well. Then Mr. Elite has been passed by his teammate. Then Kydell has got himself up into P17. Then Mr. Elite, I think, just letting him go as well. Then no problems, I don't think, for the front wing then on the McLaren, as both of them flying through then into sector 3. R2B's got himself past Reflection as well. Then unfortunately for Gordo, we didn't see what happened there, but he's got a front wing, or both end plates missing then, so it must have been a pretty hefty smash then for Gordo. He's going to have to get himself back into the box then and put on a new front wing. Then Kiki's got himself past Plotters then back into P2 now, trying to chase down his teammate then on the hard compound tyres. Those would have warmed up by now and can get himself back inside that 1 second window of his championship, of his teammate as well then, goodness me, as we head through in towards turn 1. And now Kiki then has got his elbows out, then Kiki forcing Plotters then into the move, I should say, then forcing himself into the move, I should say. Goodness me, getting those elbows out very wide, and those green tipped elbows then are very wide in the kick salver. And up into P3 then into the pits comes Gordon, then unfortunately to fix that front wing then, unfortunately, after that mishap then around this part of the circuit on the previous lap as well then. Exactly what I said with Camaro said Serious Mushroom as well then. Of course, Camaro is our latest winner then in silver, our newest winner then in ALR as well then, with the silver Monaco Grand Prix under his belt then, his first race win in his ALR career as well then. Good stuff indeed. Kiki on the hard compound tyres is now caught up to his teammate then, or caught up to the DRS range as Mumford and Justify, and goodness me, what is happening here then? Oh my days, he's ghosted, and there's all sorts of things going on for Mumford then. He's having a horrible time out there. R2B has got himself past then. I think Reflection might try and get himself past as well then. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Mumford then. He's having some problems out there and struggling, it looks like, in the Alpine at this stage. Yellow flags fluttering for Gordo. Gordo might have had another problem then, I think. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Gordo then. Mumford is in the pit lane, that is why he is why he was struggling, I think. Then he's back in the box, or he's into the box, I should say, the first time. Then R2B, oh goodness me, there's contact, I think, there between R2B and Reflection. Then these two battling for P14, and now Mr. Elite is interested as well in the McLaren. And Swindler, he picks up a 3-second penalty. Then Mumford into the box, and he has gone for a new set of medium compound tyres. He is back underway. Then Gordo is also back underway as well. Then both of them having to take unscheduled stops there somewhere. I'm not quite sure why. Then both for wing damage, I think, then as well. Then out in front, then Beast holds on to the race lead. Then Kiki then is now putting pressure on, but so is Speed Kai then in the kick Sauber. I'm going to have to try and not call it a kick Alpine. Then into the back of the Mercedes goes Speed Kai. Then a bit too eager on the brakes then. A bit too late on the brakes, I should say, as we go down at the back straight then to finish off lap 4 of 35 then. So far so good. Then Camaro Racers almost got himself back in the train as well here after the mishap then on lap 1 then, unfortunately for Camaro then, but he's got himself back underway, back composed again, of course, last week's race winner, and looking good indeed. Here comes Kiki then for the race lead on his teammate then into turn 1. He's got the race lead back then, of course, after starting there from pole position. Lost out then to the medium runners then of Beast and of Plotters, I think, then at one point, but he's got himself back up the order then very quickly indeed. Then on those hard compound tyres, of course, he's going to go longer than those on the medium compound tyres we would expect in this race on this first stint as well then. So we'll have to wait and see how far he can go then, how far can he stretch those tyres, as we will have a look at the tyre compounds, because we've seen enough of the position changes for the opening laps. Then let's have a look and see what tyres everybody's gone on to. Then Gordo has gone for an early stop then with that wing damage then onto hard compound tyres, and Mumford has done the opposite then, going for the medium compound tyres. Everybody else has stayed on the tyres they have started the race on. So far so good then, as not so far so good then as Kiki, no, it's Beast, sorry, he's been edged there, edged out then, I should say, by the kick Sauber of Speed Kai then, and the Alpine, not the Alpine, the kick Sauber has ghosted then, hasn't he? So unfortunately not quite sure if there was just a contact model then, or if there's some sort of internet issue going down into that hairpin. I think they're going very slowly at that point of the circuit, aren't they? As Meranov, sorry, has got himself past Jay Hings then into the final chicane then, and now Jay Hings under pressure from Vanquish as well then. DRS not available then for the Aston Martin, then he's been passed by the Haas, he's been passed by the Racing Bull. Oh my goodness me, there's massive contact between the two of them. Then that would have been a side pod exploding if that was real life racing. Goodness me, he just drove into the side of him then, as Vanquish then takes the place then ahead of Moranov then up into P7. Now Moranov picks up a penalty going through the first chicane, and now Jay Hings then has to make his way back through the two of them as well. Then 3 seconds the gap between Vanquish and his teammate Farth in P6 then, as this quadruple, this quintuple, this whatever it is in 6 form, there's 6 of them then as we head into sector 3 now, this group of 6, I suppose you could say, are chasing down the top 6, who are trying to scamper away at this point. Then they're all within DRS range then, Farth being the back of the train then as it stands, but this is the lead train then as we head down the back train once again. And I think Beast might be lining up a move then for the race lead here. Is he going to go for a move? Not quite. Then he stays behind, then almost pushing his teammate into the final chicane there. Kiki picks up a penalty, then going through the final chicane. That's his first penalty, and that is a 3-second penalty then for the the first of the top 5 then to pick up that penalty as well. Jay Hings has lost out to Vessia then into the final chicane as well. Then Kamara Race has got himself past Kydell. Where is he? There he is. Into the final chicane as well then. Good stuff indeed. Mumford then looking to having to do a 2-stop in this race, I think, with the medium compound tyres. So unfortunately for Mumford then, I think he's going to have a long slog out there then to get himself back into the points paying positions, but he's got himself some good pace then. We've seen some good pace from him, of course, this season so far. Then it looks like Beast is now under a bit of pressure from Speed Kai, and potentially those medium compound tyres might be starting to wear out then for the Mercedes drivers. Speed Kai weaving all over the place then in the background, which is dangerous stuff indeed. Then Reflection's got himself past Justify, as we've got Jay Hings being passed by Sweet and Repeat as well for P10, that is as well. Then Jay Hings dropping outside the top 10, but of course all the 5 drivers ahead of him have got penalties, so it's not all doom and gloom then for Jay Hings, I should say, then, because he's going to just take that position back if he stays within that range into the final lap, that is. But we're only a 5th of the way then through this Grand Prix so far. Then out in front, Beast closing in on his teammate then, but not quite enough then into the final chicane. Then Potts that picks up a penalty going through that final chicane as well then. So now the Alpine, sorry, the Kit Sauber, goodness me, I don't know why I get them confused. One's green and one's pink and blue. It really isn't that difficult. But anyway, Potts that picks up a penalty. That's all I was trying to say then. Reflection's got himself some wing damage there. No, he hasn't. Has he? No, he's all right. Good stuff indeed. And R2 beat around the outside, then turns to the inside for turn 2. Then Plotters picks up a penalty then in P4. Jay Hings as well picked up a penalty. That's bad news for him. Then he was looking like he was going to get himself back in the top 10 very comfortably indeed, but he's could still keep in that train then and get himself some good points in this race. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then here comes Reflection all over the back of that Ferrari of R2B then into sector 2. Contact is made then between Reflection and R2B then, and now Tonto is in the mix as well then for this position as we go down the back straight here. Then oh my goodness me, then going to go 3 wide through there is not a good idea. Then Tonto's got himself ahead of the Williams now, but now Reflection sneaking back through and back into P13. And goodness me, then that could have ended very badly indeed. Then we saw Kamara Racer having his battles with Favre then on the opening lap through there, and that didn't end well for Kamara Racer. But thankfully, the Williams and the Haas then have handled that very nicely indeed then on this occasion. Then as we've lost a lot of time though to Jay Hings, then the top 10 slipping away then as Reflection now powers past them with some DRS then down into the first final chicane. Sorry, he's got himself through up into P12 now as well. Then here comes Tonto as well. Then can Tonto make a charge then in towards turn 1 then on the Ferrari with no DRS then on that prancing horse then, but into turn 1 he's too far back to make the move. Then Reflection holds on to P12 as well. Then good stuff indeed. Out in front then, status quo then for the last couple of laps or so, I could say. It's now a top 4 battle, and there's Pot Stuff then losing touch then with the top 4 as Tonto picks up a penalty then in P14 then, unfortunately for the Haas driver then getting himself back underway then with that penalty. Then of course penalties are going to be very easy to come by around this circuit then, and we've already seen quite a few drivers racking up a few time penalties for track limits here as it stands in. And there we are then. That is the situation for Canada, to be fair, but it's not as bad as Imola, so it could be worse. Tonto is flying then, says Equaz then. Yes, he is. Then he's got himself into the battle then with a Reflection and R2 beat then into the final chicane then. Oh dear, Beast having a snap there, and now that could open the door then for Kiki for Speed Kai. Sorry, there's too many Ks. Is he going to go for the move down the inside? Yes, he is. And Beast is still holding it there. Oh goodness me, there's contact from Beast as well then. Speed Kai is still in that fight then. Oh, he's lost traction then. Oh goodness me, I thought he was going to go take out Beast then. But he was just managed to keep the car under control then as we head into the first chicane as well. The second chicane, sorry, as well then on lap 10 then. Goodness me, that car was out of control almost then. Vessi is out of control as well then. He's had a problem then through the first chicane. Then he's lost out then to Jay Hings and to Sweet WP. Then unfortunately, I think he has lost a right end plate. Yes, he has as well then. Unfortunately for him, Justify's had an issue as well then at the same spot then. For Justify, then he's had another issue as well then in this same chicane then where Vessia just went off then literally at the same lap then as well. Then I think potentially where's Vessia? Vessia's on the hard compound tyre, so maybe it's not the question of the medium compound tyres starting to fade out then. It is a question of something else. Then goodness me, then Kamara Racer has clouted the wall then massively indeed. Then fighting with Mr. Elite. Then Mr. Elite's gone through. Speed Kai's got through as well. Then up into P2 now, trying to chase down Kiki for the race lead. Then as Speed Repeats passing Meranov then into the final chicane as well. Then he's going to try and chase down Vanquish now for the next position. Then that is P7 then for the Alpine as we head into the first turn. Then can he make a late move? No, not quite. Then he stays behind. For the time being, that is. As there we go, then goodness me, we saw Reflection and Kamara Racer. Then Kamara is having a massive crash then into the wall. Then Reflection, sorry, not Reflection, Mr. Elite sneaking by Kamara into the pits. Then calling a day on the hard compound tyres. Then and unfortunately his day is not going from not going from bad to worse, I should say, but it's not going very well at the moment. Then Beast has got himself back past the kick Sauber of Kiki, Speed Kai, sorry. Kiki though has picked up another penalty. That is, I think, 3-second penalties then for Kiki, then the race leader. Then that is going to be very costly indeed then towards the end of the race if drivers like Beast and Speed Kai keep it all clean then and don't have any penalties at the end of lap 35. But we've got plenty of laps to go still. We've still got 25 laps out here, or 24 then at the end of this one, so we'll have to wait and see. Then good evening from Moomin as well. Then yellow flags for a problem then is a problem for a Red Bull of no, it wasn't Kamara Racer. It was, yes, it was Justified. Justified's had another issue then. As Speed Kai is back past the Beast. Justified picked up a 3-second penalty as well. Then I think that can be removed then if he was just trying to regain his composure and get himself back on the circuit. Then Speed Kai now has got himself past the Beast as well now, and I think that might be it then for the challenge. And I think Beast tyres, or the medium compound tyres, not just Beast, but the medium compound tyres then have done their job then in this race so far, and I think they're going to be just eked out to the end of the stint now to try and get themselves into the pit window then of the hard compound tyres then to the end of the race from here, I would imagine that is, but I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see what the drivers are going to be up to. Mumford has regained his place then up into P16, but he's still not challenging just yet for the top 10 then, which is where he needs to be then to keep his fight alive. Then Kamara Racer back out on medium compound tyres as well. Then I'm not quite sure if they will get to the end of the race, but we'll have to wait and see. Gorda then is on to, as Justifies in the pit lane. Justifies got 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as well then, and unfortunately went in a bit too hot then for the Red Bull car. He has got a new front wing onto a set of hard compound tyres and back underway. Unfortunately, he's going to be lapped then, because here comes Speed Kai. We've got pit lane activity then on the off the medium compound tyres. Then Beast is in, Plotters is in, Pot Stuff is also in. Yes, he is. And we've got, that's about it, I think. Maybe there we are. Then hard compound tyres then going on the Mercedes, going on the Kick Sauber, and going on the Red Bull as well. I think he was held quite a lot in the pit lane there was Plotters. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Out of the pit lane comes Ultimate Beast. Where is he going to be in respect to this battle here then? Reflection, he's ahead of Reflection. Then Potstuff unfortunately comes out behind the two in front, sorry, the Ferrari and the Williams then. And unfortunately for Plotters, he's even further back then. He's behind Mr. Elite and Tonto as well then, as we go into no, he's just behind Mr. Elite, sorry, as we go into the first chicane then. So the first stops then have been triggered then by those three. Looking for an undercut in this race as well, then we will have to wait and see if it's going to work out in their favour is the question, though. Of course, the undercut then can be very good, it can be very bad, it can be the overcut then for some drivers. Then as Plotter's got himself past Mr. Elite, then he needed to do that very quickly indeed then as well. Then out in front, Speed Kai is taking the lead as we go into the first chicane then, and Speed Kai now, sorry, the final chicane, sorry, Speed Kai now leads onto lap 14 here. Beast has got himself past Miranov then into P8 now, and trying to chase down Vessier then for that P7 position. Then of course no drivers ahead of Beast have stopped in this race, so he needs to try and get himself through the order as quickly as possible then. But he's now pushing Vessier then, as Justify has retired in the pit then, I think then. So I think he's got himself out of the way. Then here comes Beast then on the attack then with Vessier, then down into turn one. Then there's contact between the two of them, and Vessier's, sorry, not Vessier, Beast has gone wide then, but now around the outside of the Ferrari. He's got the traction, he's got the fresher tyres, then he's got the pace and the grip. Then up into P7 he goes then and flies through into that position. Then now he's got 2.8 second gap then to Jay Hings. Then Jay Hings staying out on medium compound tyres, of course trying to extend the stint. Then Justifies left the session. Miranov is in the pit lane, he's on to a a set of hard compound tyres and back underway. I think he's back on. No, he's not. He's stuck behind Justify's ghost car, which is fantastic. And that is why pitting and quitting is just dumb. So there we are then. Mr. Elite then has been passed by Mumford, I think, there. Miranov is now able to get himself out of the pit lane. Then that time loss can be removed then after the race as well, depending on safety cars and that sort of thing as well. But yeah, of course, if that was just if you're just held in the pit lane, you can just put in the footage then of what happened, and that can be removed then in terms of literally how much time you were standing still there. But yeah, unfortunately, it will be have to be looked at after the race. There's nothing we can do about it now then, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame then. It's the question of pitting and quitting and why you shouldn't do it is that in a nutshell then. Gordo is soldiering on out there. Gordo's just pitted for a fresh set of medium compound tyres. We've got a problem for Farf, then Farf is off the circuit, then Vanquished. What's happened to Farf then? It's just Farf, I think, who's had a problem. Farf's had a spin then somewhere. He's back underway. Kamara should not quali. Reverse psychology then, says Serious Mushroom. His reflection picks up a 3-second penalty as well then. Kamara, well, he needed to quali in Monaco then to get himself a race win then in the last race a week ago. Vanquish picks up a 3-second penalty as well then. The penalty starting to roll in here. But yeah, so he needed to quali for that one. So if you wanted to get your race wins in, it's probably best qualifying very high up in my opinion. But there we are then. Every now and then you might get lucky and get some big points from the back of the field, but majority of the time, if you qualify, you'll be starting higher up the order, and that is where you get the points. Beast has got himself past Jay Hings, then down this back straight. Then, of course, Beast is the highest runner to make a scheduled stop, that is, and we will wait and see that when Vanquish comes in the pit lane. Speed Kyrie takes the lead, then back past Kiki as well. Then Sweet Repeat then is 9 seconds back from the top two. Farf regains the spot then on his team, and then so does Jay Hings carrying on then on the medium compound tyres. Interesting strategy call then from Jay Hings. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what he's going to do. Then Tonto got some as a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, unfortunately, with Tonto. And that is going to compound his race then towards the end of the race as well. Then Beast has got himself past Farf as well here. Beast now 6 seconds off the podium places as it stands as well. Then after making his stop as well, then already none of the other drivers have stopped. Then Farf drifting it around the first chicane. Goodness me, that's not going to be very good for your tyres then, sir. As out of the pits comes Tonto, P15, I think. Behind Kamara Racer now. Fresh set of hards then to the end of the race. Then same for Mr. Elite. Then same for Kaidel as well. And Miranov as well. But of course, Miranov has got that sort of time issue that he's got to have to look at after the race as well. Then at the end of this one, goodness me, it's tight between the two of them. Goodness me, you can't just park there, sir. You need to leave the space for the driver coming out of the pit lane too. As Kiki, I think, has taken back the race lead. Then just about. On speed car, then into P1, back up into P1, I should say. Then there's McLaren. There's not a McLaren, so there's an Aston Martin of Gordo trying to unlap himself here, and unfortunately for Gordo, hasn't read the rules on unlapping yourself, so he will be in trouble potentially with the stewards then at the end of the race. Then, but unfortunately, he's going to have to. Well, he's going to have to let him go, really, to be honest, but he is still fighting there, which is going to be annoying because he's got Kiki a penalty then as well, which is brilliant stuff indeed then. So that is going to be, unfortunately, Gordon having a bit of a problem then with the stewards after this race. Pot Stuff and Reflection then switching places then into the first chicane then, and Reflection has lost out then to the Green Machine as we head through into the first chicane. Then R2Beat has got himself past his teammate, then both of them on the same tyre life on the hard compound tyre. Then 16 laps then for Vessia and for R2Beat so far in this race. Then Jay Hings has done 16 laps on the medium compound tyres, and he's carrying on out there. I'm not sure if he's realised that he needs to make a pit stop in this Grand Prix, but nonetheless, he is carrying on. He's right behind Farf now for the time being. And that is that then, as we head on to the back straight then, about halfway through this Grand Prix now as well. I think, mathematically, I can't do the maths, but there we are. Speed Kai is trying to chase down Kiki, for the race lead. Then Gordo's got himself ahead now. Swindler then is now 7 seconds behind. The gap actually coming down then in the favour of the Alpine then. 5.4 seconds back to Beast. Then, of course, Beast has done 5 laps on the hard compound tyres already. Then started on the medium compound tyres and has now switched to the hards. Jay Hings then has carried on again then. So Jay Hings, I think, looking for a completely different strategy here. Miranov has passed Kaidel, I think. Has he? Yes, he has. Up into P17 now as well. Then good stuff indeed. Jay Hings picked up a penalty as well. Then trying to keep hold of those medium compound tyres, then especially into the first and second chicane, are going to be quite difficult indeed then. But he's doing a good job then out there. He's staying within DRS then of Farf as well. So good stuff from him. are to beat out both of the Ferraris, then trying to chase down Reflection here as they go through into lap 18 now as well. Then both of the Ferraris then putting the pressure on then for the next position then in this field, as we got more action up in the front then for Speed, Kai and Kiki then switching places then into the final chicane. Then Speed Kai retakes the lead from the Mercedes driver. Then good stuff indeed as well. Gordo then is on the medium compound tyres and is powering through then, trying to get himself out of the way of the chasing pack. Then Kaidel's got a penalty for his troubles as well, then unfortunately losing out to Moranov on the previous lap as well. Now the closest battle on track then is the Ferraris and the Williams here as we head down into the final chicane. Then the wall of champions then on the right hand side of these drivers, then clipping the wall then was R2B. Then not quite a champion at this stage just yet then, but very closely done indeed. Then into the first turn, then late on the brakes then for Reflection, locking up then that inside left as we go into turn 1 as well. Penalties here are crazy, says Serious Mushroom. Yes, they are. It seems like they are very treacherous indeed. Well, there is 3 difficult chicanes to try and get yourself through, which can easily give you 3 track limits, I suppose you could say. You can get a 3-second penalty, then one warning every chicane, then, and that gives you 3 seconds at the end of each lap. So that would be 35 3-second penalties if the maths serves me correctly, but probably doesn't. But there we go then into the third sector now. We've got more of a change. Then Kiki back ahead, I should say. Then back ahead. Then into the pits comes Speed Kai. Then calling it a day. Then on the hard compound tyres, and that is him done and dusted. Then for the hard compound tyres. Then onto a set of medium compound tyres. I would imagine is the call then from the from the Speed Kai. Goodness me, I don't even know which one I'm talking about. But oh my God, then there's Farf. And what has happened to Farf then? Goodness me. Then Jay Hings entered the pit lane. I'm not quite sure if Jay Hings made contact then into the pit lane, but it didn't. I don't think it was that. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Then Ultra Beast then takes back P3. Speed Kai is out 4.7 seconds behind Beast. Then of course Beast is pitted. He's onto the hard combat to the end of the Grand Prix. We'd imagine from this stage. Can Speed Kai catch up then to the Beast? We will find out then. More pit stop activity. Then out of the pits comes Jay Hings. Then he's going to come out in P10 ahead of Kamara Racer. Then in P11. Then Reflection coming out of the pit lane behind his teammate of Kamara. Then P12 for him. Vanquish picks up a 3-second penalty. Then Vessier coming out in P16, I think. Yes, that's correct. Good stuff indeed then, unfortunately from Moranov. That time loss back behind Justify then, which can be removed then after the race, will be compounding his race at the moment then, but of course can be taken off then at the end of the Grand Prix. Then into the pits comes the race leader, then Kiki then calling it a day now on the hard compound tyres. Sweet MGP then following the race leader in as well then, as I think now it looks like Ultimate Beast will retake the lead, will he? Yes, he will. He's crossing the line to start off lap 21 here then. Where is Speed Kai then? Speed Kai crossing the line now as well. Then Kiki coming out to the pit lane, and I think is going to be behind the Kick Sauber as well. Then potentially could be behind Pot Stuff here as well as we go into turn 2. The pit exit then crosses into turn 2. Then Kiki comes out in P3. Then behind Speed Kai. Then both the drivers who pitted then at previous laps then have come out ahead of Kiki then, but Kiki's now got the fresher tyres of the top 3. Speed Repeat coming out in P7. Then Jay Hings up into P8. Then is he? Where is the rest of the pitters? Then Far coming out then in towards the second turn. Then there's going to be a lot of traffic here, and he's going to be involved in a lot of battling straight away then for Far on the medium compound tyres. Then right into this battle for the final points pair positions. Then right behind R2 Beat. Kamara Racer then will have to stop again. I think he's got 10 laps on his medium compound tyres already. Then I don't think they'll go to the end of the Grand Prix from here. He will be outside the points then if he does try to go to the end of the Grand Prix from here, that is. So we'll have to wait and see then what his plan of action is then in this race. In 3.8 seconds covers the top 2. Then Kiki there's 3 seconds back then from the top 2. As goodness me, Kamara then is sliding his way through and almost into the wall on the exit then again of the second chicane. And R2B has gone sneaking through already. Farf as well then round the outside then of the Williams car then onto the back straight. We go through the hairpin. Kamara Racer losing out then. I think he needs to let his teammate by if he's going to let anyone by, and he has let Reflection go through. Then Tonto's gone through as well then, unfortunately. Goodness me, then Kamara Racer all over the place then in this race, unfortunately not having a great time out there as we go through into the final chicane then now as well. Then Tonto picks up a 3-second penalty. That is bad news for Tonto's time as well then. Now Jay Hings Keychains is looking quite comfortable out here. So R2 beat then is on the medium compound tyres then, but he's got no penalties. So potentially he could be in danger then for the Ferrari, then losing out a place then at the end of lap 35. Then we'll have to wait and see. The gap now 2.9 seconds. The gap coming down now for Speed Kai, trying to challenge Ultimate Beast. Then Kiki then can't get himself back in the fight, I don't think, here into the hairpin, and he's lost a bit of time than he was just under 3 seconds now when he came out of the pit lane. He's over now 3.6 seconds. So unfortunately he's going up rather than down then for Kiki. He needs those fresh tyres to kick in. Then of course he's got 1 lap younger tyres than Speed Kai as well, and he's got much younger tyres than Ultimate Beast. Of course he pitted for the hard compound tyre only 9 laps ago, but there we are then, make that 10. So they're good stuff indeed then. Right then, Kamara not quali then as reverse psychology, then a 6-2 then from Serious Mushroom as well. And Vessia then's got a 3-second penalty. Then Vanquish lines up a move then and takes P5 away from Plotters then into turn 1. Then the Racing Bull then looking good indeed, then up into P5. Then far passing hard to beat the other Racing Bull, making a move into the final chicane. Then passing the Ferrari then up into P9, sorry, as Reflection looks to try and make a move as well then here. But unfortunately not then for Reflection's sake. Tonto then P12 for the time being, waiting in the wings then as well. Kamara Racer unfortunately has dropped off this pack then, as what are the rules on unlapping then? Says Gordo then, well, you basically you can't. So there we go then, but that is that then. So we just have to power on in this race as much as we can then. Gordo isn't lapped, I don't think. Where is he? Gordo is not lapped at the moment, so Gordo is okay out there as well then, so he's not got any problems then with the current lead, because he's behind, well, he's ahead, sorry, of Beast, who's coming through the final chicane now as well then. Gap coming down 2.3 seconds now. Speed Kai then is gaining on these medium compound tyres. He is flying out there as well. Then Plotters now is trying to retake that position then from Vanquish, but he's too far back then into the final chicane to make any moves. Where is the rest of the battling then? Just outside the top 10 then for this battling here. Then here comes Tontakar and here comes Reflection then down the back straight. Then they're going to go side by side. Oh dear, oh my god, that could have been very bad indeed then from Tonto into the final chicane. Then he's too far back to make the move then on the Williams car, and unfortunately I think that angle then into the final chicane has lost him the pace, then lost him the position. Then as Kamara is in the pit lane, then I think for the final time in this race, then Kamara then going for a fast final stint then to the end of the Grand Prix from here. Kiki's got another penalty then, unfortunately for Kiki. We'll have a look at the penalty situation in a few laps time then. Kamara Racer coming out of the pit lane now will be on the medium compound tyres then to the end of the Grand Prix, I think. And back underway, there's a McLaren in the background then of Kaidel just getting himself sorted. And there we go then, out of the pit lane for Kamara Racer. He's behind Meranov then on those hard compound tyres. Then he's got fresh medium compound tyres now on the Williams car. Go for it now for Kamara Racer and get yourself back in the back in contention as well then. Out in front, Speed Kai 1.2 seconds behind now, I should say, as the gap has come down pretty drastically indeed for Speed Kai in the last few laps or so then to the race leader of Beast currently. These two will be challenging then for the race lead in the next lap or so. I think at this rate it's going to get quite close indeed then. Plotters is quite close indeed, but he's not close enough then into turn 1 to make a move then on Vanquish. And Sweet 100p has joined the fight here as well in the Alpine, and then on fresh medium compound tyres. Then that is going to be very tasty indeed from Sweet 100p. Then Plotters picked up a penalty as well. We'll have a look at the penalty situation now because we might as well. Kiki's got 12 seconds of penalties then. That is going to be very bad indeed, because that is going to add onto his time, and that's going to promote Potstuff to the podium places as it stands as well. Then will be brilliant result then for Potstuff then, and a 2-3 as it stands. Could be a 1-3 then with Speed Kai then all over the back of Beast. Goodness me, then it seemed like they were pushing each other then through the hairpin. But yeah, Speed Kai all over the back of Beast then for the race lead. It could be a 1-3 then for Kicksouth then if he can get the move on the Mercedes now into the final chicane. Then yes, he has done very nicely indeed. Up into P1 now for Speed Kai, and now he's got the lead. Then here comes Potstuff. Then Potstuff's only 5 seconds back from Kiki and is in a net position to take away that podium place. Then Swinter passing Plotters then into the final chicane then, and now up into P6 then, and now on the chase then with Vanquish. Yellow flags for a Haas. It's Tonto. He's back underway then, but unfortunately for Tonto, he's had an issue somewhere. I'm not quite sure what happened then with the Haas driver. Then he unfortunately not having a great time out there as it stands. And 16 seconds penalties for him as well. But he's on the attack now with Mumford, sorry, and into, oh goodness me then, my god, then there's all sorts of switchbacks going on in that final chicane. not an overtaking place, guys. But there we are then, up into P12, back up into P12, sorry, goes Mumford. Mumford is on the fresher tyres as well, I believe. Yes, he is then. He's on 5-lap-old medium compound tyres. Should get him to the end of the race comfortably indeed as well. But can he get himself into the top 10 is the question. We will find out now as well. Then he is 6 seconds off of reflection, sorry. But of course, I just picked up a penalty, unfortunately, for his troubles as well. Then, goodness me, that must be the commentator's curse then. But he could still actually get himself into contention here with a top 10 then, potentially with the penalty situations for drivers ahead of him. 6 seconds for Farf, 9 for Jay Hings, then 9 for Plotters. There's Vanquish and Swindon, then switching places then into the final chicane again, then and Swindon up into P5 this time now. Of course, penalties are going to be a big factor at the end of this race. Now, only 3 drivers without any penalties. That is R2B and the top 2 then, Beast and Speed Car then putting on a fantastic pace then, but they're keeping the penalties down as well then, which is good stuff indeed then for a race winning contention, I suppose you could say. Speed Car's got a 2-second gap now over Beast. Then he's really sprinted off in the distance then, has Speed Car. Good stuff indeed then. Kiki has got the gap down now to 2 seconds to his rival and his teammate, that is. So good indeed. And Big Al has said, are the penalties? Yes, they are here. But to be fair, 3 drivers doing a good job. Then I'm going to commentate a curse them as well then, probably. And then on the final lap, they're going to get 3 seconds each. But yeah, so far so good then on lap 27. That is for those 3 drivers as well. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see then what's going to happen then in the latter stages of this race as well. Then into the hairpin once again. Then Vanquish then on the back of Swindon. Then Plotters in the fight now. Jay Hings 12 seconds back then, holding on to some points at this stage of the race as it stands for the Aston Martin driver. Then looking good indeed to get himself back on the point scoring haul. Then he's done a fantastic job this season. Unfortunately for Monaco, I think it was his first race then out of the points for Jay Hings that he's been racing in as well, and I think he's missed 1 race as well. But Monaco then was the only race out of the points then for Jay Hings. After, oh goodness me, then Swindon and Vanquish then almost going wheel to wheel then into the first turn. Then goodness me as well, then Vanquish losing traction and almost taking out the Alpine too. But thankfully they got themselves through and unscathed in this one. But on to the next fight now as well. Then 3 seconds the gap out in front. Then the gap extending now for Speed Kai, who is looking quite good on those medium compound tyres at this stage. Farf and R2B are going to go side by side then into the first chicane. Are they? No, not quite. R2B thinks better of it, especially with Farf as well then. And then bides his time. Then he sits behind. Then Gordo I think is pitted for soft compound tyres then. So interesting call then from Gordo. He is going to try and get those soft compound tyres to the end of the race from here. Potentially doable then with 7 laps to go at the end of this one as well here, as R2B now trying to gain that place back then on Farf into sector 3 we go. Then the Ferrari of R2B is pushing that racing ball as Vanquish has lost out to Sweden. Repeat, these 2 battling away then and resuming their battle. I think it's going to carry on to the end of the Grand Prix from this point of view, but so far so good. Then Sweden Repeat back up into P5. Then Kaido puts up a 3-second penalty for his troubles as well. Then Vessier has left the session, and unfortunately for Vessier, I'm not quite sure if that's a rage quit or a technical difficulty then, but he's going to lose out to Kamara Racer nonetheless then. Kamara Racer trying to get himself back in this race as quickly as possible as well. Then out in front, here comes Reflection on the charge, and Reflection up into the top 10 as it stands. Is he going to go around the outside? Yeah, RGB holds it around the outside then and has the inside then for turn 2, then stays in P10 as well. Then good stuff indeed then, and now trying to chase down Farf to hold on to that DRS then of the racing ball then into the next part of the lap as well. Then flying through there, very nicely done indeed. Then Kiki is now all over the back of his teammate then of Ultimate Beast. Then they've lost out 3.8 seconds then to Speed Kai as we head on to the back straight once again. Then here comes Kiki, sorry, to line up a move for P2 on track, that is, but I think penalty wise it's going to go back into Beast's favour then, with no penalties then for the Beast as it stands then. Brilliant stuff indeed then. The Mercedes switching places then. I think they are going to have to work together to try and get himself, or try and get Kiki on the podium still here. Vanquish back past 300p. Then these 2, like I said, resuming their battle. Then Vanquish picks up a penalty going through that final chicane, unfortunately for him, as Kamara has been passed by Vessier. But I think Vessier now back in the session, back in the car, and can get himself back underway as well then. Good stuff indeed. Beast now, I think, like I said, is going to have to work together with Kiki to try and get these, try and get a double podium then for the Mercedes driver, instead of the penalties then for, instead of the podiums then going the way of double podiums, that way going the way of the kick Saubers. Then Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race. Then yellow flags on the main straight. Not quite sure what for, but there we are. So yeah, 12 seconds then is the gap then. So he needs to get a 9-second gap then over Potstuff, does Kiki. Vanquished and Potstuff, goodness me then, Vanquish and Potstuff going through there. I think it might have been Potstuff who made an error, because he's now been caught up by Sweet 100p then, and by Vanquish as well. Then Plotters is in this fight too, as we head into the hairpin now. Vanquish going very wide then through the hairpin, and he's lost out to the Alpine with Sweet 100p then as we get onto the back straight. There is a kick Sauber then leading this queue now, as Jay Hings has had an issue. Jay Hings is facing the wrong way here, and Jay Hings then has lost the car. Then goodness me, he's trying to rejoin on the circuit. Then we've got also action into the final chicane as well. Then there's 3 wide almost into the final chicane. Goodness me, I thought, oh god, Potstuff's then gone for a spin. Then there's contact, and there's a spin then for the kick Sauber. Then unfortunately he's back underway. That's going to be costly indeed. He's now clouded the wall as well twice then for good measure. Then unfortunately Potstuff then trying to get himself back underway then, but unfortunately I'm not quite sure if he just lost control of the car there, or if there was a helping hand then on the exit of that chicane. But yeah, you'll have to tell me, because I couldn't quite tell. But yes, unfortunately for Potstuff, I think he's got wing damage, and unfortunately has to go around a whole another lap as well, and to then try and make himself pit stop. Jay Hings pits and quits in. Unfortunately he's given up in this race then as well then, which is a big shame. And yeah, like I said, it's probably commentator's curse, because I was saying he was doing a great job then of getting points in this season so far, but now he's given up. Then he'll probably quit and remove himself from his seat as well, but we'll have to wait and see then. Kiki then is all over the back then of Ultra Beast. The gap now coming back down in the fight with Speed Kai as well, actually 2.8 seconds the gap as well then, as we've got Jay Hings' car then in the pits this time to try and block anybody else who does come in the pit stops on the next lap, that is. As out of the pits comes somebody then, I think it might be Jay Hings' ghost car, which is great, into this fight here as well, which is perfect for the Mercedes drivers, as we head through into lap 32 then of 35 now down the hill then towards the first chicane, then speeding through for Mercedes. And they have got, what have they got? A 12-second gap then over Sweet 100p then, who's got 6 seconds now. So I think Kiki is quite, no he's not though, not anymore. Yeah, well he is I think still. Yes, he's still safe then from Sweet 100p then by 3.5 seconds as it stands then. So Kiki would stay on the podium as it stands at this point of the race then. Beast is picking up a 3-second bonus, but it's not going to be costly enough for Beast then, or costly to Beast in terms of position. Then Mr. Elite's knocked himself through past Potstuff, who's pitted for a new front wing and a soft compound tyre as well for the for the Kick Sauber car. There is your driver of the day then. We've got Kaido and Kamara Racer then switching places, and we've got more yellow flags somewhere. But yes, there is your driver of the day then in the comment section. We've got Kiki back past Beast. We'll have a look at the position changes. There is your driver of the day in the comment section. Then Beast, Vanquish, Smear P and Reflection are your candidates then for driver of the day, as there they are then. So yes, so Beast then currently will finish in P2 with barring any incidents for Speed Car, that is, but will finish in P2 behind, well, ahead of Kiki, sorry, with the penalty situation then for Kiki. So we will gain that place back then up into P2 then for Beast. Sweet 100p then in, Vanquish, sorry, in P5 currently, but we'll have a look at his penalty situation as well. He's got 12 seconds, then he will lose out then to Plotters, and potentially could lose out to Reflection. Then we'll have to wait and see. But so far so good then for Vanquish. Then he's currently gained 8 places then off the starting grid. Then oh goodness me for Kiki, then having a few issues there, and maybe just a bit of tactful play then, trying to get the DRS then on his teammate on the next straight, but not quite then, I don't think. But there we are then. Vessia in the pit lane, as is Gordo as well then. Potentially going to go for the fastest lap in this race for those two as well. Good stuff indeed for not giving up in this one. Then Sweet 100p then has gained 6 places. Then I think he might be able to hold on then to, as he's had some stops then as well. Then let's have a look at the penalty situation. Then he might be able to, well, if he gains 3.5 seconds, then he could gain a podium out of this. Then could Sweet 100p, but as it stands, not quite then for the Alpine, but still a solid performance and gaining 6 places and looking strong for a P4 position at the end of this one. And Reflection then in P7 then has gained 8 places, and his penalties are looking pretty good then. 3 seconds of him would keep him safe then from Favre and those behind as well. Yellow flags then for a McLaren. It's unfortunately a McLaren then, I think, of Kydell then. No, it's not Kydell then, it's Mr. Elite. Mr. Elite's had a problem then somewhere on the back straight then. Unfortunately, Tonto's up into P11 then. He's coming in the pit lane now. Why is he coming in the pit lane? Has he got penalties to serve? He has got 22 seconds of penalties then actually, so maybe he's going to go for the fastest lap as well here. Where is the lead train though? he's going to have to get a move on then is Tonto, because the lead train then is Speed Kai then is coming down this back straight here, and yes, Tonto needs to be in a bit of a hurry now to get himself out of the box, and he's having to serve a penalty as well here, which is going to be bad news indeed. Then Speed Kai is coming through the final chicane now, and they haven't changed his front wing then for Tonto either. Then unfortunately for the Haas driver, then it's going to be bad news indeed. Then he's going to have a bit of a fight then to try and get himself out in front of Speed Kai here as well. He has just about then got himself ahead and stayed on the lead lap then as well, but unfortunately that wing damage is going to be costly indeed. And there we are then, soft compound tyres going on the Haas car as well then. Yellow flags for another McLaren, then Kydell just letting the cars go through, I think, on this one. We're on to the final lap of the race then. Goodness me, that was quick indeed. As Favre's got a 3-second penalty then added onto his race time. I think we're going to have to wait and see what the classification throws up then at the end of this one, because we're going to have all sorts of changes then for the positions, I think, at the end of this race. At the end of lap 35, then we'll have to wait and see. Then yellow flags again fluttering. Then there's a Williams car of Kamara Racer having an issue out there. Kydell picks up a 3-second penalty. So does Mr. Elite as well, flying through into sector 3. Then here comes Speed Kai. Then he's 4.7 seconds out in front then, compared to his rivals as well. Then going down the back straight, then Beast is going to be in P2 then. I think he's going to hold on to P2 as well with the penalty situation for Kiki. Can Kiki then hold off Sweet and P then with the penalties that he's racked up as well? Then we'll have to wait and see. But so far so good. Then out in front then we'll go on to a Speed Car then, who crosses the line to win the Canadian Grand Prix. Great stuff indeed. Then Beast then crossing the line then in P2. Brilliant stuff from Beast then to hold on to his championship lead. Kiki P3 there. Vanquish, goodness me, Vanquish, sorry, has passed Sweet and P then into the final corner, but I don't think he's going to hold on to that position, unfortunately. Then as he crosses the line, then P4, Sweet and P takes that place back, as well as Plotters. Then P5, Vanquish down to P6, then Farf. P7 then passing Reflection, but I think Reflection's going to get that place back as well then as we cross the line. Kamara Racer and Kaido have finished this race as well then. Unfortunately with them, it has not gone their way. Then here comes Farf across the line, but Reflection takes back that P7 position. Then R2B then takes P8, then Mumford P9 then. A good recovery from Mumford, actually, to be fair, after going all the way down the back of the field then on the early stages of this race, up into the points paying positions. Then P2, 2 points, P9 then for Mumford. Then Farf P10, Mr. Elite. If Mr. Elite can get himself, I was going to say, if Mr. Elite can steal away that P10 from Valve, that would be fantastic, but he couldn't. Potstuff then finishes P12. Meranov then P13. Tonto will cross the line. I think he's going to go for the fastest lap point here. Goodness me, he's clouted the wall then on the exit. Then the Wall of Champions almost claiming the Haas driver. Then here comes for Tonto and Vessia. Vessia claims P14. Tonto P15. Kamara Racer P16. Kydell P17. Gordo then is going to cross the line in P18, I think, as Mumford has left the session, but he was classified then in P9 in the end. Brilliant stuff indeed then. I don't think Gordo's realised that these cars are AI cars then, and he has had a spin there as well as Gordo. Fantastic stuff indeed. We'll go back. Our race winner has already crossed the line twice then, and Speed Car then holds on to the race win then. A fantastic race indeed for the Kick Sauber driver. Both Mercedes and a 2-3 on the podium then for Ultimate Beast in P2 and for Kiki in P3. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then get your votes in then. Your last minute votes for driver of the day then, before it closes. But there we are then. Vanquish, Beast, Sweet Repeat and Reflection are your candidates then as well then. So get the last minute votes in there as well then. Kiki was added to the group. Fantastic stuff indeed. There is your podium sitters then, as we've got Speed Kai on the top step of the podium then in the Kick Sauber. Then both Mercedes P2 and P3 for Beast and for Kiki respectively as well. Kiki Reflection says Serious Mushroom, then good points for Williams as well. Then P7 then in the end for the Williams driver then as well. Unfortunately for Kamara Racer did not have an easy race then. Unfortunately, I think he probably would prefer to have him to race Monaco instead then with Kamara Racer. But we'll hopefully see him bounce back then in the next race or so. There is your classification then for the Canadian Grand Prix. Speed Kai then, no penalties for him then, from P4 then up to the race win then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Beast in P2 and Kiki P3 rounds off a double podium then for Mercedes. Sweet P then 10th to 4th then has got himself a great result then as well in the Alpine. Plotters P5 then, Vanquish P6, Reflection P7, R2 P8, Farf P9, Mumford P9 and Farf P10 then rounds off the top 10. Mr. Elite, Potstuff, Meranov, Vessia, Tonto, Kamara Racer and Kydell and Gordo round off the just under the top 10, and then Jay Hings and Justify unfortunately pit and quit then at the end of this race, or near the end of this race as well then. So they are out on the race, DNF'd, unfortunately, in this round 9 of Season 8 then for Silver. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then we'll get some lovely podium interviews underway, hopefully. And we'll start off then with our race winner, then Speed Kai. Then a fantastic reserve appearance then for yourself here in Canada, once again, to be fair. But a race win this time, then fantastically done. Then did you think you had the race win in the bag then from qualifying or from the get go in this race?
Qualifying, I was thinking maybe a podium because Kiki had like a outrageous lap. I was like shocked with it. But as the race went through, I realised I had some decent pace compared to the two Mercedes. And then the undercut was really strong. I got like 3 seconds ahead of Kiki through one lap, which was mental. I was like, whoa. And then, yeah, just stay consistent, try not to get any warnings, and paid off, I think.
And it paid off in the end. Then I think you were the actual only driver then to get no penalties in that race. So fair play indeed to yourself then for the race win as well then. And yeah, looking good indeed. Then you should be racing in gold, which you did last night, which is fair play. So well done indeed. We've got Beast in P2. Again, extending your championship lead then to Mumford, who had a bit of a difficult time in qualifying then and in the early stages of the race as well. Then Beast, then are you happy with that result then after seeing your championship rival then falling, not falling by the wayside, but having a bit of trouble in that race as well?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised over Mumford. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a shock, but I just more after the shock went off, I just focused on my race. And then Speed Kai, I think I had the pace at the beginning. Obviously I was on mediums, but my tyres just died after 10 laps. Yeah, crazy undercut, but I think he had like over like 6-7 laps overcut, sorry, pressure tyres. Yeah, too good.
I think you were on 7 lap hard compound tyres when they pitted for the mediums, yes, towards the end of that race.
Yeah.
Well, fair play indeed then, and like I said, still a podium. Again, every time we have a chat with you and you're not on the top step of the podium, it sounds disappointing for you, but you sound disappointed, but to be fair, another podium then, like I said, again, extending your championship lead then, again, you're looking forward to the next race in Spain. What's your thoughts then for extending your championship lead once again then in Spain in a week's time?
Yeah, Speed took some points off me, which I weren't too happy about, but fair enough. Yeah, Spain, looking forward to Spain. Much better than Canada. Not as bad as penalties. Should be a good race.
Good stuff indeed then, and of course if you've got a problem with the reserves then please tell the drivers who didn't turn up to race instead actually, but that's the only thing we can do about reserves unfortunately then. Kiki in P3, I don't know if he's here. I don't know, did you join us?
Yeah, yo.
Kiki P3 is, you've got yourself another double podium from Mercedes. Unfortunately, a lot of penalties for yourself in this race, but you still had some great pace then, keeping up then with your rivals in the, especially in the first stint as well. And unfortunately, like I said, penalties cost you at the end of that race to hold on to P2 in the end to your teammate. But a good team performance it looked like then. Were you working together in that final stint then just to try and keep that gap then to, it was to pot stuff at the time then, over 9 seconds then with the penalty situation to make sure you got a double podium?
Yeah, I was saying to Beast, if I got past him, don't hold me up, but then we just try to get in the DRS with each other. Then we were hoping Speed Kai would get a penalty, which would obviously try to get Beast there, but he didn't. Obviously, consistent was key, I guess, in that race. Like, I thought I was doing the corners pretty good, but then it was like warnings after warnings, and after like 15 seconds of penalties, so I was a bit annoyed with myself.
Again, like I said to Beast, it's you sound disappointed then with P3 on this race, but again, a fantastic result and a double podium for Mercedes again, once again then in this season. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch you two then in the Mercedes. Then it's been pretty rapid stuff indeed then from both of you at their various stages of the season as well. So again, another podium, then a double podium for Mercedes. Then you can't be too unhappy with that, can you?
No, it's good for the constructors because obviously Alpine are pretty close to us. So constructors-wise is good, but you always want to get the win after obviously qualifying first by like 4 attempts. But like I said, penalties are a nightmare around here.
Agreed. I've got nothing more to say on the penalty situation. But
They are shocking.
I think, like I said, only one driver then managed to finish the race tonight then with no penalties. That was our race winner in the end as well then. So fair play indeed then. So good.
Get them back in gold.
Podium drivers then. So fantastic stuff then for fantastic stuff indeed then for the Mercedes pair in 2 and 3 then for Beast in P2 and for Kiki P3. And of course for our race winner then Speed Kai and the Kick Sauer then reserving tonight then in place of Nigel then. So Nigel then would have been happy with that if he got the win, but unfortunately he wasn't in the car. So there we go. Good stuff indeed. Then we've got bronze tomorrow night here in Canada as well then. So stay tuned for that from 7:30 p.m. Then and the 100% League on Wednesday is taking us through Spain. So we'll have to wait and see how that's going to go as well then, as a bit of a preview then. So stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up and we'll see you very soon.